Okay, let's dive into settings. You have a lot of them in Plesk Premium Email. So let's start by clicking on the settings gear icon in the left-hand menu. This is our main settings panel, and the first column you'll see includes preferences, folders, identities, responses, passwords, and about. I'm going to focus primarily on the preferences section, and you'll see that this is kind of a sub-menu for that. Under preferences, we have user interface to begin with. When we click on that, you can change your language, your time zone, formatting for dates. Perhaps the most important feature in this one is this register protocol handler for mail-to links. If you click this, then your browser will ask you to accept it, and if so, then when you click on an email link on a website, it will pop up your webmail as the default mail client. This comes in really handy if you're only working with webmail, which we like to do. In your mailbox view, you have options like mark messages read immediately, never, after 5 seconds. So when you're viewing an email and it says that it's new, so when you're viewing emails and there are new emails in your inbox, you can determine when they get marked as read. So they stay new until either after 5 seconds, after 20 seconds, immediately, or never. And I have mine set to immediately. So when I go to my inbox and I click on one, immediately it's no longer bold, it's no longer considered new. If I change that setting, now if I change that to never and hit save, then when I click on a message that's new, it stays new, it stays bold until I mark it by right-clicking and hit mark as read. I find that to be a bit of extra work, so I like to set my settings under Mailbox View to immediately. If someone asks for a return receipt, then you can have it either ask you to, would you want to send the receipt, or send the receipt, or send it only to people who are your contacts, etc. We'll get into threads in a different video. So let's just ignore this one for now. And then rows per page is how many emails you want to show up in your list. So you can change this to 25, 50, 100, 11 if you want. It really doesn't matter. When you're done making changes, hit save. Under displaying messages, you have the option of opening messages in a new window, show email addresses with display names. So this is kind of fun when you turn this one on. Then when I go back to my mail and I click here, I'll see Velma and I'll see her email address as well. So if you'd like to see the email addresses right in the messages, then definitely click that. It's preferences, displaying messages. Display as HTML means that it's going to display the formatted menu. Keep that on. It's much nicer experience. Unless you have issues with bandwidth or very poor internet connections, then you may want to just turn that to plain text only. Allow remote resources. If you only get messages from people that you know, or you're doing mostly internal email and there's images attached and you want to always see them, then you can change this to always. Or you can select from known senders, in which case you can then filter them one at a time and say, yes, I know this person, let's show their images. If you have never, which is the default, then every time somebody sends you a message with an image in it, you will have to right click and say show images. I like to set this to known senders, and then when I get an email from somebody that I want to see images, if I tell them that I want to see those images, I will see images from that person from that point on. Display attached images below the message is okay. We'll hit save. In composing messages, we can compose in a new window. I don't necessarily care to do that. I don't mind if it's in my app. I kind of like it having it all in one place. Compose HTML messages. By default, this is set to never. I don't like that setting. I want to make this, I put mine on always. Saving drafts, you can have it every 1 minute, every 3 minutes, whatever you want. It will save a draft in your draft folder. If I always want to request a receipt that somebody's received the message and viewed it, then I want to turn this on. If I want just a receipt that says that their server accepted it, then I can turn this on. When replying to a message, you can start the new message below the old message, or you can start the new message above the old message, or you can start the new message above the quote with no indentation, which is this is what I like right here. This means that when I reply to somebody, I'm going to hit save and show you that. When I reply, say to Velma, it's going to put all of Velma's information down below. And I can just type, it's going to be right here for me to type, and my signature will be right up at the top. And notice my signature is up at the top, and the quoted message is below. When we go back to our settings, I can start my new message above the quote, and then I also have the option to add my signature always and to place it below the quoted message, or in my case it's above the quoted message. I like it above, so this keeps that signature with my message. But if I turn this on, then my signature will show up at the bottom of the email. All right, so back up to here. Message forwarding is inline or as attachment. We just want the messages that are forwarded to be inline. Stick with that setting. If you want to change the default font of your HTML, you can change the typeface. You have quite a few to pick from. And you can change your font size. I usually recommend going with at least 12 point. Some people like 14 point, a little bit easier to read on all different devices. We wanted to always add our signature, but you can tell it on new messages only on forwards, or never. When replying, we can have it remove the original signature from the message, which is kind of cool because it cleans it up some. And some other options, check spelling before sending. It's going to check it anyway, but this is an extra option where it will actually not send the message if it finds a spelling error. Some people find this annoying, so we often keep it turned off and just use the browser-based spell check feature to make sure that it's good. So we'll hit save. Our preferences for contacts, default address book, we only have one, it's personal addresses. We can list our contacts by display name, or first name and then last name, or last name and then first name, or last name, comma, first name, whichever one you prefer. You can sort by first name, last name, or display name, then how many rows per page. So let's just stick with those, have fun, play around with them. Again, the ones I believe you should set right off the bat would be to register the protocol handler if you are only using webmail. In your mailbox view, I like to set my messages as read immediately. On displaying messages, I want to allow remote images from known senders, and I want to display HTML, make sure that's on. I like to show email addresses with display names. For composing messages, I always want to compose in HTML. I want to update my font and make it a bigger font for sure. I always want to add a signature. And I want my signature to be removed from original messages. In my contacts, I want it sorted by last name. And those are the basic settings that I want to go in and change just about every time I set up an account. And that should be it. Once you've done those, like even changing the HTML, you'll notice as soon as you go to Compose Mail, you're automatically in the HTML panel. You're not in the plain text version like we were before. Your font is 12 points. Your signature is automatically attached. And those are your preferences.